What's going on there, YouTube, and welcome back to another comic book video. Alright, so as you guys know, we just wrapped up Final Crisis, and with Final Crisis being wrapped up, we now move on to the Battle of the Cowl. Now, the Battle of the Cowl will be important for our Grant Morrison Batman's run. Even though Grant Morrison did not write this storyline right here, it basically does lead into the next chapter in Grant Morrison's run when it comes to Batman. Because when he wrote Final Crisis, one of the things he did in Final Crisis was killed off Batman. Bruce Wayne died in Final Crisis. But the question was now, who is going to be the next Batman though? Who is going to take up the mantle of Batman? Because when it comes to Gotham City, the criminals were really kept at bay only because of Batman. But now they know that Batman is dead. Gotham City is completely falling apart, which means that the city needs a new Batman. And so when it comes to the storyline known as the Battle of the Cowl, it is basically this huge, not a huge event, but it is a Batman event where basically we're going to see who is going to become the new Batman. Now, when it comes to this storyline, you do have the main storyline and tie-ins as well. Now, if you put all the books together, you only have about 17 issues to cover, and that is it. And so we're going to cover some of the tie-ins and also the main storyline to kind of get the complete story of the Battle of the Cowl. Because right now you have complete chaos in Gotham because the criminals know that Batman is dead and they're no longer scared of the other heroes who work in Gotham. So like Nightwing or Tim Drake Robin or even Damian Wayne. It's now basically a free-for-all for different areas in Gotham City. And so here is the first chapter, or really our first video, to Battle of the Cowl. Now, before we actually jump into today's video, I do want to tell you guys which 3 books are going to be covered in today's video to give you guys a heads up. So we're going to cover Gotham Gazette, Batman's Dead. We're going to cover Battle for the Cowl #1 as well. And also Azrael, Death of the Dark Knight #1. And so these 3 books are really going to kind of help us get a better understanding of what's happening right now in Gotham City. Because thanks to Final Crisis and the death of Batman, the criminals realize that there's nobody really around to keep them at bay. And so now they're basically causing complete chaos in Gotham City. And so jumping into the actual storyline now, we actually do pick up with Gotham Gazette, Batman's #1. Now, this is actually very important because we actually do pick up with a character known as Malignant Maine. Now, Miss Maine was a character that was made back in the early 2000s, and basically she has the ability of an empath. And so she's able to feel what's actually happening right now in Gotham. Now, honestly, it may seem like she's not a very huge, important character, but it does kind of give you the feel of what's happening right now in Gotham City. And what I mean by that is because she's an empath and she's able to feel everybody's feelings in Gotham City, she knows that right now Gotham is screaming for help, that Gotham is calling out for help. But of course, that call, those screams are not being answered, because while you have the bat signal in the sky calling out for Batman, hoping that he'll just show up and save the day and put all the bad guys away, Batman's not answering that call because Batman died in Final Crisis, and Gotham City, it knows they have lost their hero. And so this is Maine kind of giving us that feel like what the city is actually going through. And so getting into today's video, we actually pick up with Vicky Vale. Now, Vicky Vale was basically the Lois Lane in Gotham City. Like, she was this big time reporter in Gotham City. And a lot of times, if anything popped off, she was the first to basically report it. Now, at this point in DC Comics, she did take a step away from actually doing that because she felt like she needed some time or just need a small break. Now, with that being said, though, at this point in DC Comics, she does come back into reporting. But when she does, we all know Batman had just died. And so she wrote an article saying, is Batman dead? Like, she's asking a question, is Batman actually dead right now? Because it shows how bad Gotham has gotten if Vicky Vale is writing a paper asking, is Batman dead? Because right now Gotham is in complete chaos. Now, some of her colleagues are not really happy that she's back in reporting. And the reason why, because on her first day back in her first article, it's instantly a front page story. And of course, that right there does tick off her colleagues because they feel like with them never taking a break, always being there, writing all these different articles, for some of them, they never got on the front page. Most of the time, they're in the back of the book or newspaper. Sorry, I said book there. My mistake. Either way, they never got a front page article. And so it does show a tad bit of jealousy. Now, you then have one more colleague say that Vicky Vale won't be able to actually get into a certain kind of ball, this huge party event, because even though she did write this great article, and yes, she is Vicky Vale, the best reporter in Gotham City, it's this colleague saying, and I still bet you will not get invited to the big time party. And so now her goal is to prove this man wrong, that she'll be at that party. Then she'll get another great article for just being at that party. And so her goal to get into that party is to call up Bruce Wayne, which of course we all know is going to be a problem. And the reason why it's going to be a problem because Bruce Wayne is dead. He was Batman, and Batman died in Final Crisis. And so if there's no Batman, there's no Bruce Wayne right now. And so, of course, she's trying to find Bruce Wayne. But the problem is, though, everywhere she goes, everything she does is just a dead end. It's just like going on this long goose chase, hoping that you'll find the person you're looking for. But unfortunately, you cannot find him. And so it really shows that if Batman is dead, then Bruce Wayne is dead. And that means that if Bruce Wayne is dead, what's going to happen to all these different projects that Bruce Wayne had for Gotham City? Because remember, guys, Bruce Wayne has a company. He has Wayne Enterprises. And usually he does use Wayne Enterprises to try to help make Gotham better. Also going to big parties as well as the Playboy. And so now with Batman dead, it's kind of like, oh, is Bruce Wayne dead? If he is dead, what happens to all those different projects? Now, you do have Vicky Vale go to different locations trying to find Bruce Wayne, and of course, she cannot find him. Now, you do have the Bat family realize that Vicky Vale is digging, and if she is digging, that's a huge problem because Vicky Vale is a great reporter. And so if she keeps digging, sooner or later, she's going to find out that Bruce Wayne is dead, which means that Bruce Wayne must be Batman. She'll put two to two together. And so what the Bat family did was when she came back home after a long day of searching, someone left a bottle of like champagne, some flowers, and a note, which of course looks like Bruce Wayne wrote it, but we know he did not write it because he is dead right now. But it's a way for them to say, look, if we give her this right here and make it seem like Bruce Wayne is just away for the time being, maybe it'll buy us more time to kind of give us a cover story to basically cover up where is Bruce Wayne, because we do not want the world to find out that Bruce Wayne is dead. On top of that, we do not want the world to find out that Bruce Wayne was Batman. Now, the next person we actually do pick up with is Stephanie Brown. Now, remember, Stephanie Brown was a character known as Spoiler. Now, that was her first code name, but there was a short period of time where she did become known as Robin. So after Tim Drake had retired for a short period of time, but of course he did come back, you did have Stephanie Brown as a Robin. Now she did die in an event, I forgot what it's called, but she died in a certain Batman storyline. But then we come to find out that her death was actually faked by Leslie Thompson. Either way though, ever since she came back, she basically retired as a hero. And so right now, she's kind of trying to be a normal teenager in Gotham City. But of course, she realized that when it comes to being a normal teenager in Gotham City, your life is really not normal. Because with Gotham right now no longer having Batman, the city, like I said earlier, has gone into complete chaos. And with the city going into complete chaos, you basically have people kind of doing different things in Gotham. And of course, it's dangerous for just regular teenagers who are just walking down the street. And so when it comes to Stephanie Brown, she's kind of wondering if she should step in. But then she remembered that she promised her mom that she would not be a superhero anymore. And so now she's basically on the sideline to kind of do her mom's wishes, which is not be a superhero. And really, this section is kind of used as a way to kind of tell us that we're going to have a new Batgirl sooner or later. And what I mean by that is you do have Stephanie Brown walk into her room where she does have flashbacks to her time with Tim Drake. Because even though Tim Drake did retire and she did become the Robin after him, we also have to mention that they were two characters who used to be in love with one another. And so what this page says that even though he broke her heart, her spirit still fights on. And this is a small hint to her becoming Batgirl, because right after this storyline right here, she does become Batgirl, and her series does run up to, of course, the birth of the New 52. When DC basically rebooted the entire universe. But either way, this was a small hint saying that sooner or later, Stephanie Brown is going to be a superhero. And we found out later on that she became the next Batgirl. But then we pick up with Leslie Tompkins. Now, Leslie Tompkins is an old character. She's been around for a very long time in DC Comics. Now, with that being said, though, when it comes to Leslie Tompkins, she was one of the people to kind of help Bruce Wayne overcome the death of his parents, because the death of his parents was a very huge thing for a young child to actually go through. And so she was there to kind of help him out along with Alfred. Now, when it comes to Leslie, she is a doctor and she does run a clinic. Now, the clinic she runs is usually there to help people who can't afford to actually go to a hospital. Now, with that being said, though, at this point in DC Comics, she is right now coming back to Gotham. Now, when she does come back to Gotham, she does realize that Gotham has gotten worse, that Gotham is not the same what it used to be before she had left. And she realized that Batman is dead. Now, you have to remember that she does know that Batman is Bruce Wayne. And the reason why I'm saying that, because before Final Crisis in this storyline right here, when Stephanie Brown was Robin, Stephanie Brown faked her death. And Leslie helped her fake her death. And the reason why, because Leslie wanted to teach Batman a lesson, to leave children out of the superhero life. And the reason why, because 9 out of 10 times, you are going to ruin their lives. And so it's her showing him back then, if you have children in your life as a superhero, they're going to end up dead, like Jason Todd. And so that's why she faked the death of Stephanie Brown. Now, with all that being said, though, Leslie is coming back to Gotham, and she does realize that Gotham has gotten worse without Batman. But for her, she still realized that there are people out there who needs help. And the reason why I say that, because at the end of her section, she does see a guy who is a convict who broke out of prison right now, and he has a stab wound. And so right now he needs a doctor. And for Leslie, she does not care if he's bad or good. He's been stabbed and he needs help. And so you have Leslie say that she is going to help him no matter what. Now, the last section does pick up with Harvey Bullock. Now, when it comes to Harvey Bullock, he was this cop that was always around in Gotham City along with Commissioner Gordon at different crime scenes that usually leads to a supervillain that has come back to Gotham to fight against Batman. Now, this time, he does work for the major crime unit. And right now, he's basically working this case where they have a body, and his body is headless. Now, the problems don't stop there. And what I mean is that even though this body is headless, there's no blood. And right there is a red flag, because usually if somebody cuts your head off, there's going to be a lot of blood. Now, for Harvey, he's kind of like maybe the rain had washed the blood away. But when they take the body over to the coroner office, he does tell them that basically this person's head was cut off with a sword. But the sword also had a very high amount of intense heat. And the reason why he said that, because the cut was a very smooth cut. But on top of that, when that sword cut this person's head off, it also closed the wounds at the same time to stop the bleeding. And so that's why he said it had a very high amount of intense heat. The wounds got closed as soon the cut had happened. And so that is why basically there was no blood. And so with that, you have Harvey Dent realize they're going to have to chase after somebody who uses a sword. Now, this actually does lead into the third chapter of today's video, which gives us a brand new Azrael. And I'll explain more about Azrael as we get into that book in this video later on. And so getting into the Battle of the Cowl, number 1, the main storyline for this event, we actually do pick up with Tim Drake, Robin, and the Squire. Now, if you're wondering who in the world is the Squire is actually the sidekick to another character known as the Knight. Now, the Knight and the Squire are basically the best heroes from United Kingdom. But the reason why they're in Gotham is because right now, Gotham is falling apart. And so you had Tim Drake and Dick Grayson call out for help for people across the world who were very close to Batman. Now, you would think that would be like the Justice League, but apparently no. There's a bunch of characters who don't have powers are right now trying to protect Gotham from falling apart. Either way, the reason why we're focusing on Robin and the Squire because you do have them right now going after 3 burglars. Now, when it comes to these 3 burglars, at first, it does give Tim Drake, Robin, and Squire a tad bit of a challenge. But once they're actually able to catch up to the thugs have been basically tied up. But a note was left behind. And on this note, it says, "I am Batman." Meaning that somebody has basically taken up the mantle of Batman because they know Bruce Wayne is no longer around. And if Bruce Wayne is no longer around, that means Batman is no longer around. And so the next section does pick up with Tim Drake kind of showing us how bad Gotham has gotten. And the reason why, because you do have all these different kinds of vigilantes right now in Gotham trying to protect Gotham. You have Nightwing, you got Batwoman, you got the Knight, you got Tim Drake Robin, you got the Squire, you have Huntress, Black Canary. You have a lot of different characters right now in Gotham trying to protect Gotham, because right now Gotham again has fallen into complete chaos. But this shows that with the bad guys knowing that Batman is not around, this is the perfect time to basically attack. But on top of that, it shows that the bad guys are not worried about these sidekicks or other heroes from different city, that they were really scared of Batman. But with Batman gone, no one is scared to actually take action now in Gotham, to do bad things in Gotham. And so even though you have our heroes right now being able to take down some characters here and there, it's still not enough. You basically have everybody just going crazy in Gotham because Batman is no longer around. And you have Tim Drake kind of narrating the storyline, but telling us that with all this chaos happening, it's taking a toll on Nightwing. But then we pick up with a bus full of prisoners who are right now being transported to Arkham Asylum. Now, of course, even though Gotham is going crazy, it does look like that Gotham does have control right now over the super villains. But here comes the big problem though. And this is what's going to make Gotham even worse. Because as you have this bus right now transporting these villains over to Arkham Asylum, well, that is the moment they get stopped. And they get stopped by Black Mask. And this is Black Mask basically freeing the prisoners. Now, it's not him saying, yeah, go free and go cause more chaos in Gotham. Instead, it's him recruiting all these villains that were on that bus right there to his side. He's basically building up an army. And if he's able to build up an army, that means this army is going to be powerful enough to take over Gotham. And so this continues the idea that right now, Gotham is screaming for help, because at first it was just thugs left and right and maybe a couple villains here and there. But now you're talking about an army of super villains that Batman has stopped over the years, and now they're working together where possibly they're going to take over Gotham completely. Like, what can Gotham do to actually survive this chaos? But then we jump over to the Batcave. Now, when we do, we actually pick up with Dick Grayson and Tim Drake. Now, this is Tim Drake telling Dick that basically right now, somebody has to become Batman. And the reason why, and it's not because how bad Gotham has gotten, but the reason why, because someone's out there right now pretending to be Batman. Now, this is also Tim kind of telling us that he wouldn't have a problem with someone out there being Batman, but the problem is that this new Batman is going too far when it comes to fighting against criminals, kind of going against everything that Batman had actually stand for. And so that is why Tim is telling Dick someone has to become Batman. Now, this section also shows the difference between Dick Grayson and Tim Drake. And what I mean is that when it comes to Tim Drake, this section really shows how great of a detective he actually is, meaning that he's able to sit down and look at the clues, study the clues to try to figure out what is going on better than Dick Grayson or even Jason Todd or Damian Wayne can. And so this is Tim Drake kind of like, okay, I sat down, I looked over the clues, and I still don't have an idea who this guy is, but I realize that he has this special kind of training. And when it comes to this special kind of training, you can only get this from one person, Batman. And so it's kind of like, who did Batman possibly train this well to actually come in and be almost a perfect copy like him? And right now, pretending to be him, but also going too far against these criminals. But see, then while you have Tim Drake kind of looking over the different clues that were given to him, you have Dick Grayson talk to Alfred. Now, this is Alfred really trying to tell Dick, hey man, listen, someone has to take up Bruce Wayne's legacy. Somebody has to become Batman to basically help Gotham, but to also stop this fake Batman. Now for Dick, he feels like if he does it, he might fail at living up to Bruce Wayne's legacy. But on top of that, this is also Dick not wanting to become like Bruce Wayne, not becoming the Batman, because he saw how much damage the Batman life did to Bruce Wayne. And so it's Dick Grayson showing us his fears into becoming Batman. Now, of course, you have Alfred not say anything else, but then you have Oracle actually call in. Now remember, Oracle is basically Barbara Gordon, and at this point in DC Comics, she was shot and paralyzed. And so, of course, the only thing she can do right now is be their tech person. And so she's calling Dick Grayson to tell him what happened to Arkham Asylum. And so you do have Dick Grayson actually go and check up on Arkham Asylum. And that is the moment he comes to find out that basically Arkham Asylum has been burned down, because after Black Mask was able to free those prisoners, he burned down Arkham Asylum. Now that is huge, because when it came to Arkham Asylum, it was one of the prisons that could actually hold these supervillains for a certain period of time before they were actually able to escape. But either way now, with the asylum being gone, it's kind of like, great. If our heroes out there who are trying to protect Gotham are able to stop a villain, they can't take him to Arkham Asylum. And the question is now, where can you take him to? And on top of that, someone built a bat signal. And with this bat signal, yes, it does light up the sky. But in the middle of the bat symbol, you do see RIP, which of course means rest in peace, which means that Gotham knows that Batman is dead. But then we pick up with Selina Kyle, aka Catwoman. Now this is a very brief moment, and what I mean by that is you do have Selina Kyle being one of those characters who are out there right now trying to help protect Gotham. But while she's doing that, she does see someone jumping around on the rooftops in a Batman suit. Now at first you would think that this is our fake Batman, but it's not, because we see that someone is wearing the Batman suit, the one he wore before he was killed off in Final Crisis. Either way though, we also see that this is Tim Drake right now being Batman, because right now he's trying to bring some kind of hope to Gotham, but to also use his detective skills to figure out who in the world is running around right now as Batman. And so after looking over the clues, he went to a certain kind of location that could basically help him figure out who is this fake Batman. But then we actually pick up with Black Mask. Now right now you do have Black Mask taking his small army of villains and attacking Gotham Harbor. And the reason why, because when it came to Gotham Harbor, it was a way to kind of use that place to ship out different kinds of illegal things around Gotham, like drugs and guns. Now at first Two-Face was using this area, but then you have the Penguin kind of close off different routes that basically lead to the harbor to make things harder for Two-Face to kind of expand his criminal organization. And so you have Black Mask go to Gotham Harbor to actually attack the place, but not to help Two-Face nor the Penguin, but instead to help himself, to basically cause more chaos between those two characters, because if they take out each other, then Black Mask will be able to move in and take over the criminal underground. But then we pick up with Damian Wayne. Now, remember guys, Damian Wayne only appeared in a handful of books before this book right here. He was just recently made by Grant Morrison. But of course, with him being made and now being the son of Batman, he has to be involved in these Batman books. Now, right now, you do see him kind of driving the Batmobile without permission, and of course to impress some kind of girl that he had picked up. Now you do have Oracle take over the Batmobile. She does eject the young girl that was with Damian Wayne and then tell Damian to go check out the harbor to see what in the world is going on, and we know what happened. It was Black Mask. Either way though, while you have Damian heading that way, the car was actually hit off the road into a ditch by Poison Ivy and Killer Croc. And so, of course, Oracle realized that he may need some help, because now you're talking about two powerful villains who could easily defeat Damian Wayne at this point in DC Comics. And so you do have Oracle about to get ready to send in the birds of prey. But then you have Dick Grayson say, no, I'm nearby, I'll save the kid and we'll be okay once I get there. And so luckily for Damian Wayne, Dick Grayson was able to get there at the right time to basically save his life by using his glider to glide in, pick up Damian, and they fly away. Now, while you have Dick and Damian flying away, you do have Dick trying to give Damian a life lesson on being a superhero, because this life is not an easy life to live. Now, while you have Dick Grayson trying to give Damian that life lesson, well, that is the moment they're shot out of the sky. Now, of course, with them using that glider is clearly gone. And so you have Dick Grayson and Damian crash into a nearby building. Now, when they do, we come to find out that they were shot out of the sky by a group of men who basically work for Black Mask. And this is Black Mask saying that because Batman is dead, it's now open season against any other vigilante in Gotham. And this is Black Mask saying, I'm no longer scared of any of these superheroes in Gotham. Batman I was. The rest of these guys, I'm not. And so this is Black Mask telling his guys to kill any other vigilante in Gotham on sight. Now, Dick Grayson was injured from that crash. Now, this is a section I kind of had a problem with. And the reason why, because I felt like Damian Wayne should be able to actually handle these guys because he was a trained assassin. But right now you kind of have this story kind of give us this idea that Damian Wayne can't actually defend himself right now at the moment. Like he's not a well-trained fighter like Dick Grayson or Tim Drake is. And so when it does look like that, basically Dick and Damian are about to die by the hands of Black Mask henchmen, that is the moment we do see the fake Batman actually appear. And when he does appear, he comes in gun blazing, shooting up all these different guys who work for Black Mask, but were trying to kill off Dick Grayson and Damian Wayne. And so then we jump over to another series, and this one is known as Azrael Death's Dark Knight. Now, this was a 3-part mini-series, and we're only covering the first one for today's video. Now, with that being said, though, this 3-part mini-series is basically introducing a new Azrael, because back in the 1990s, you had this group made known as the Order of Saint Dumas. Now, this order was a very religious group that was trying to bring justice to Gotham by using their religion. Now, with that being said, though, they had a character known as John Paul Valley, who was basically working for them and became the Azrael of the group, who would go around Gotham and try to bring justice to Gotham by using their religious ways. Now, in the 1990s, John Paul Valley also replaced Batman when Batman's back got broken by Bane. And so with that, John Paul Valley was the first one. This 3-part miniseries is bringing back the Order of Saint Dumas, but they're now looking for a new Azrael to take up their sword to bring justice to Gotham with their religion. Now, I want you guys to actually think back to the first chapter for today's video, which was Gotham Gazette, Is Batman Dead? ? And the reason why, because in the last section with Harvey Bullock, remember, he found a dead body. And when he found that dead body was headless. But of course, that body had no blood around it at all. And the question was why? And let's not forget, the coroner said that who basically killed that guy used a sword, but that sword was carrying a huge amount of intense heat to basically close the wounds as the person was cutting that other person's head off. And so right now, we do see this guy being interrogated by someone else, and we kind of find out it is our new Azrael. Now, we have no idea right now who is this new Azrael, but basically this new Azrael does have a sword on fire. And of course, he does use that sword to cut off the head of this guy right here. And so that means when the police find his dead body, there won't be any blood. Because again, the sword is so hot, it's cutting the wounds or closing the wounds as the person is cutting this guy's head off. And the next page actually does confirm what I said earlier is true, that this is connected to what we saw in the first book. Because right now you have Harvey Bullock being questioned by different reporters left and right, including Vicky Vale. But right now, it does tie into that body that basically Harvey found earlier, the body that had no head and also no blood. And now we know where it came from. It came from our new Azrael. But then we jump over to the Order of Saint Dumas. Now, when we actually do, we actually pick with a small group of the Order of Saint Dumas, where you do have this group right now trying to select their next Azrael. Now, the person they do select is Michael Lane. Now, that is a name you guys should actually know pretty well, because in the earlier parts of Grant Morrison's run on Batman, we were actually introduced to Michael Lane. Because remember, the GCPD in the military had this agreement. And with this agreement, they had agreed to try to make a backup Batman just in case the real Batman had possibly died. Now, of course, they picked 3 cops, and those 3 cops were kind of given different things to see what would happen to them, but to hopefully get them ready to become the backup Batman to protect Gotham just in case Bruce Wayne had possibly died. Now, when it came to these 3 guys, they all went crazy. Now, when it comes to Michael Lane, he was the Antichrist Batman. And let's not forget, we did a couple videos on his character. Basically, he was going around being this Antichrist Batman with guns and stuff. Now, with all that being said, though, this section also kind of gives us the origin of Michael Lane, and we learn what actually broke his mind and what made him the perfect candidate to become the next Azrael, because we kind of find out that at a young age, he was going to be an amazing football player. But of course, he got into an argument with his coach, lost his scholarship, and then he had to join the GCPD. The problem is, though, over time with the GCPD, he lost family members left and right. His wife, his son, his 2 siblings, I want to say a brother and a sister. But basically, this man lost so many people in a short period of time that it broke him mentally. And so they're kind of like, he is literally physically ready and also possibly mentally ready. Now, for me, I'm kind of like, yeah, he is physically ready because he was part of that Batman program. But mentally, no. This is a man whose mind broke completely once he realized that he has lost so many different family members. The GCPD let him go for that reason, because they realized that he was mentally broken. But this is the Order of Saint Dumas saying, no, he's a great fit and we need him now. And we actually get the chance to see how broken he is, because when we actually pick up with Michael, he's right now where his family have been buried at, and it still haunts his mind every day. His dead son, his dead wife, his dead siblings. It's him realizing that maybe this life is a cruel, cruel life. And you do have what seems to be his sister, I think, is trying to say, hey, you should come with me, like come back with me, come see your niece and nephews, come see your mom. But basically for Michael, he's kind of like, I can't because I'm afraid to lose more people by just being around them. But then we kind of find out that Talia al Ghul is also in Gotham right now. And with that being said, you do have Talia al Ghul right now sending in a group of men to basically go after Michael Lane in the Order of Saint Dumas to basically get back the Suit of Sorrow. Now, the Suit of Sorrow was basically an armor that belonged to the Order of Saint Dumas, but was taken away by Talia al Ghul, but then given to Batman. And of course, Batman put it in the Batcave. And it was kind of like a gift from Talia to Batman. And now with Batman being dead, she's kind of like, an item I gave to him was taken out of the Batcave. And right there, that is very concerning. But on top of that, I want that suit back where it belongs, in the Batcave. And so right now, she's going to send out a group of men to go after Michael Lane and the Order of Saint Dumas to get that armor back that was stolen from the Batcave. And so we did see the Order of St. Dumas actually go find Michael Lane, where of course they do bring Michael over to their church, where you do have the Order of St. Dumas begin to explain to Michael what they want him to become the next Azrael. Now, with that being said though, you do have the Order of St. Dumas basically tell us that this group right here, yes, they're part of the Order of St. Dumas, but they are a fraction that had actually broke away from the Order of St. Dumas, and they are a different order, but still kind of belong to the Order of St. Dumas. They are the Order of Purity, and basically they're not as extreme as the main Order of the St. Dumas, but when it comes to the Order of Purity, they have been around for a very long time, and they also had their own version of Azrael, which means that the first Azrael, Jean Paul Valley, that was the Order of St. Dumas. This one right here, the Order of Purity, is going to be a separate group completely and going to have their own version of Azrael out there as well. And so with that, they have told Michael Lane that he was selected to become the next Azrael. Now, with all that information being said, you do have Michael Lane just quickly agree to basically join their group and become the next Azrael. And so right after you have Michael Lane actually agree to become the next Azrael, while he's trying to leave the church, that is the moment he is attacked by the group of men who basically work for Talia al Ghul, who's trying to get back the suit of sorrow that was taken away from the Batcave. And so you do have Michael run back in to basically protect the people who's part of the Order of Purity. Now, some of the members of the Order of Purity have already been taken out, but there's still some survivors left. And so now it's Michael trying to protect these guys from the forces of Talia al Ghul. And so what he does is that he goes and grabs the armor. And then when he does, he reappears and says that he is the Dark Knight of God. He is the new Azrael. And so this is Michael fully becoming the new Azrael and getting ready to defend the survivors of the Order of Purity from the forces of Talia al Ghul. Now, there is something I forgot to tell you guys. When it came to the suit of sorrow, basically two swords were kind of used to kind of help get the suit ready. And the two swords were the sword of sin and the sword of salvation. And so those two swords were kind of used as a way to kind of bless the suit, but to also help the suit get ready to be worn by someone to become the next Azrael. Now, right now, Michael, who is our new Azrael, does have the sword of sins, but he's then out of nowhere stabbed by Talia al Ghul, who's holding the other sword, the sword of salvation. And so we're left with a cliffhanger wondering what is going to happen to Michael Lane, who was just stabbed by Talia al Ghul. But this is where we are going to end today's comic book video. So with that being said, please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, I'll see y'all next time. Later.